Hello again, chaps and chapettes. How are we all doing? It is lovely to see you all again. As always, Jeremy Clarkson has been having one of his famous rants on one of his newspaper columns that he writes for. I believe it's either in the Times or the Sun. I can't remember which newspaper he writes for. But nonetheless, I thought we could have a read through this latest rant of his and see if he actually has any valid points. Oh, excuse me. Spoiler alert, yes, he does have quite a few valid points. You see, that's usually the case with Jeremy Clarkson. When he has one of these rants that tends to make any leftist shitlib almost choke on the bile they bring up through him being misogynistic, racist or transphobic, or whatever ridiculous word they use. In actual fact, in almost every single one of these rants that he has made very valid points. Nonetheless, we're going to be reading through this specific rant and chatting about it ourselves and pick out the valid points he has yet again made. So in this specific article, it starts by reading: Jeremy Clarkson has claimed that if he was young, he wouldn't work as he blasted pink-haired people on social media. I do believe he's referring to the purple-haired and blue-haired leftist shitlibs that we tend to see frequenting various protests up and down the country on a weekly fucking basis. You won't see many pink-haired there. It's usually blue, purple, or green. I think that's who he's referring to. The former Top Gear host said modern Britain has made hard graft pointless for young adults trying to make their way in the world. And he insisted that if he was starting out today, he'd simply stay at home rather than trying to build a career. The former Top Gear star said politicians including Keir Starmer and Rachel Thieves acted as though money earned through hard work belongs to the state and should be handed to people with no intention of working. Valid point number one. Clarkson said he feared that this outlook was sparking a new attitude that is putting off ambitious youngsters, reports the Times. Writing in his column even, Clarkson said social media is full of young people with pink hair chanting "tax the rich" with a socialist fist up in the air. And there's a general sense that if the government were to confiscate all of Elton John's money, they'd be able to buy everyone on benefits a Porsche. This is a general consensus with your pink-haired, blue-haired liberals. They're there every single week screeching tax the rich. And yes, initially, taxing the rich much, much more would bring in a modicum more of tax revenue. But I ask you this. What happens, and it's happening now, this very time, 2005, I was about to say there, 2025, what happens when the millionaires and the billionaires, the people who've got a bit of money in their back pocket, savings, etc., start to leave the country? When they start packing their suitcases, selling their $1 million mansions, £1 million mansions even, dollars, Jesus Christ. What happens? Where does the tax money come from then? It comes from people like me and you, the working class. The people who don't have a pot to piss in start getting astronomical percentages of taxation on their wages. That doesn't stop it happening now. Everyone is getting taxed out of the fucking arsehole at the minute. You see, that's the problem with communism and socialism. Tax the rich, give everything else free to everybody else. Once the rich departs and your growth starts plummeting and your GDP starts plummeting and the economy of your country plummets, no amount of migration is going to spontaneously fix this like some kind of fucking magic wand. That's why you get places such as Zimbabwe. I watch a YouTube channel called Britannica, I believe it's called. It's run by Callum, who used to be a presenter on a Lotus Eaters. He has gone through some of these backwater places in Africa. And within these places, I don't know what the currency is in Zimbabwe. You'll have to excuse me, just for the sake of this video, I'm going to call it dollars. That's why it costs like 50 million Zimbabwe dollars for a loaf of bread. You see, the free rein to print money with low growth, high inflation, just shoots up the cost of produce 50 million Zimbabwe dollars for a simple loaf of bread. It is ridiculous. The profit of a Zimbabwean dollar is just non-existent. That's why you got people walking around with American dollars. They don't use their currency anymore because it's absolutely worthless. Even 50 million of Zimbabwe dollars are worthless. And that's what happens when socialism and communism is implemented on any country. See, that's the thing. With these young, blue-haired, green-haired, shit-lib types screaming tax the rich. All very well. But once there are no rich left, you are fucked. You are going to be plunged into poverty, famine, and starvation. And most probably, at some point, labour camps, just like the Soviet Union. Absolute retards who don't think past the first 5 minutes into the future. They can't see any further. It's tax the rich right now, think about it later on. Doesn't work. Capitalism does work. Let young, intelligent, entrepreneurial minds build their businesses, create employment, and bring growth to the economy. Capitalism has worked even, for centuries in this country. The working man gets the fruits of capitalism. Nobody gets the fruits of socialism and communism. I find this a bit of a worry because when I was in my early 20s, Mrs. Thatcher was in the hot seat and entrepreneurialism was encouraged. Clarkson bemoaned how in the past, asking the local council for a grant to help pay for the marketing of your new business would see them write a cheque on the spot. Never happened in this day and age. Not a sniff, my dear friends. The former Top Gear and Grant tour presenter added, today if you wanted a £2,800 cheque from the town hall, you'd have to promise to never do a day's work in your life. Valid point number 2, wouldn't you say? I do want to pick up on one more thing, guys, before I love you and leave you. Clarkson mentioned in here that young entrepreneurial minds, I do have a fucking really hard time saying that bloody word, young entrepreneurial minds in this country are being, I don't know, disincentivized to following a career path. I don't think that's true, to be honest with you guys. I do believe that a young, intelligent mind who wants to make his way in the world, get savings in the bank, start a private pension, or maybe 2 private pensions, wants to start a business, be prosperous, I do believe he'll get his qualifications, his diplomas, his his degrees, A-levels, whatever you need to start up a business in this country, gather them all together in nice little scrolls with a nice little bow on the end of them, and he'll take them elsewhere, into the Anglo-sphere, either over to Canada or the United States, maybe Australia, New Zealand, or somewhere else in Western Europe. And everybody else will be gathering the fruits that this country provides. Young, intelligent businessmen and businesswomen wanting to make their way in the world, who should be here propping up the economy. Well, not propping up the economy, making the economy flourish a lot more than it fucking is now. But they won't. They won't stay here. And I predict in about 2 or 3 generations, maybe 25, 50 years down the line, we will be living in some kind of cyberpunk dystopia with big grey buildings, housing packed full like sardines of people, rampant crime, economy through the fucking floor, poverty, starvation, and just somewhere where you would not want to fucking live. There's an episode of Fools and Horses, very briefly, a little analogy here. There's an episode of Fools and Horses where Rodney's asleep and he has this dream that Del Boy and Damien have taken over the entire world. And there's like war going on and there's fires everywhere in Peckham outside the flats and stuff. That's how I predict that England's going to look in about 50 to 100 years' time. I really do. If this carries on the way it's going, yeah, there's just no saving it. No amount of fucking immigration can save this at all. Only thing that can save this is people being allowed to prosper. People aren't going to be wanting to go out and earn money simply for it to be taken away by the fucking government at a very astronomical rate. I mean, I work my fucking bollocks off for my wage packet each and every single month. I'm losing a fucking huge chunk of it to Keir Starmer and Rachel Thieves. I mean, think about it, right? When you're getting taxed, what is it, about 20 odd, 25, 30% or whatever the hell it is now, you're going to be wanting to avoid promotions and avoid overtime and extra shifts, because if you earn too much, you're going to get taxed more. It's just not worth doing. People are going to be going to work and asking for the lowest wage possible simply not to get fucking taxed. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. This cannot continue, my friends. I seriously don't think that Keir Starmer and the rest of Fraggle Rock will survive until 2029. I do predict that Nigel and Reform UK will be in, I guess, by the end of 2027. I seriously do. There is a tiny little light at the end of the tunnel. There's a huge tunnel about 500 miles long, right? We're at that end, and salvation is 500 miles that way, with someone at the end holding up a small matchstick that's on fire. It's there. We just have to get walking towards it. That's basically it, my friends. Anyway, carpe diem as always. Thanks a lot for watching. Do let me know what you think in the comments. Is Jeremy Clarkson right in what he says? Do you believe that young, intelligent, working people are going to be put off by these tax rises? Or do you believe what I have to say and that they're just pissing off elsewhere once they get their qualifications? Do let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in a bit. God, my mouth is like Gandhi's flip-flop. I really need a drink. So yeah, see you in a bit. Cheers.